Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, the show that gives you a virtual seat at the bar for the real conversations that happen between entrepreneurs. I'm interviewing all kinds of business owners, from those just a few years into freelancing to CEOs helming 9-figure companies. If you've ever worried that everyone else just seems to get it and you're missing something or messing things up, this show is for you. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and let's get to it. And welcome back to Permission to Kick Ass. With me today is my friend Karen Kossow. Say hi.
Hi, Angie.
Hi. So tell us about your business and what you do.
Well, I am by day a email marketing manager, and I help female business owners grow their email lists, get their brand out in front of their ideal audience, all that good marketing stuff. And my new passion project is as a self-care coach for parents of autistic children. And I am so excited to be launching it and getting all of my ideas out in the world.
Nice. I love that. I'm writing that down. Self-care coach. I need to hear more about that in a second. But it was funny too when you told me beforehand that you had kind of two passions that were overlapping, but I didn't expect the by day that made you sound like such a superhero.
Ooh, that's me. No, I do get that comment a lot. People are always really curious about how I manage to fit everything in. And I'm not going to lie, it's a huge juggling act. I am a firm believer in balance is a myth. And anyone who tells you to find balance can go suck an egg.
Yes.
It's all
You're much politer than I am. Suck an egg.
I wasn't sure, exactly how adult we could make it. But anyway.
You can say whatever the hell you want to on this show. I
love it. Okay. Yep. So it's just a matter of fitting in what I can, when I can, and being really mindful about my time.
I love that because I've always thought of balance as the pendulum swing, which naturally means we're going to be on one side and then we're going to be on the other. And if anything, if balance can be achieved, to me, it's trying to reduce the wildness of the swing and bring it to where it's going less far out to either extreme versus like trying to find. I always imagine balance, at least the way people talk about it in business, as trying to stand up on a pedestal and like your legs are going to give out, you're going to need to pee, somebody's going to be trying to climb up this thing and knock you down. Like, how long can you stand there? You really can't.
You can't, right? And in our situation, I have always homeschooled my kids. They're both autistic. My son is going to be a teenager very soon, and my daughter is a few years younger than that. And I am, as a business owner and as a parent, always doing my best to help them stay on, a pretty even keel. But just the nature of being autistic and having some of the challenges that they have, they're never going to stay in a consistent place for an extended period of time, no matter what we do or how hard we try. And just getting really comfortable. I can't eliminate my swings, right? Like I'm always going to be going back and forth. So it's just finding a way to regroup after we've had a difficult day and not get stuck in the mindset of letting a bad day turn into a bad week, which turns into a bad month to a bad year, right? And just doing the best that we can to kind of keep things positive and moving forward around here.
I love that. And I think it's funny how often I notice like themes popping up in the discussions that I have, because the person that I recorded with earlier today, we were talking about what to do on low energy days. And in her case, it was pretty relevant because she has a chronic illness that she has to manage. And then I see a lot of folks that are working with families and families that are at home and special needs on top of that. Like low energy days are a reality for everyone. And some of us get a lot more low energy days or distraction full days than others. So you've got to have a plan for what you're going to do on those days, which hint, rest is okay. Aiming to do one thing and get that off your list is okay. You don't have to be hyper productive all the time, especially on low energy days.
No, and I don't talk about a lot. I have a chronic illness myself. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which I passed on to the kids. And there's some link between having Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and also autism. And no one can quite figure out exactly what it is. But there's a lot of other moms mostly that I know that are around my age with kids around my kids' age who are also autistic. And it's kind of like a whole cluster of quote unquote disorders that all go together. And we deal with a lot around here, but taking days off isn't my strong suit. I tend to do better if I kind of keep going, but Learning when I need to take breaks is a new skill I'm practicing frequently.
I like
That way.
that I'm practicing. And I think that's important too, because I think out of everybody out there, entrepreneurs are the hardest on themselves when it comes to like, look at what everybody else is doing and what I'm doing. And that's pathetic in comparison. And I say, stop comparing. Stop compare. We're going to make up words here. That's fine.
It's all good.
Stop comparising yourself to other people, especially if you don't know what they're dealing with at home. Our mutual friend Chris Orzakowski talks about: are you willing to trade 100% of your life for 100% of someone else's? When you start to realize what they deal with and what their life looks like on a day-to-day basis, like I've made the joke before that, do I want to be an Olympic athlete? Maybe. Seems pretty cool. They get some perks. I don't know. Am I willing to wake up at 4:00 in the morning every day and work out for like 4 hours straight? No, absolutely not. I like to sleep in. So am I trading my life for that chance at the podium? No, because I know what comes with that, and that's not for me, and that's okay.
It's 100%. And for me, I also have the awareness that I don't want to be productivity porn. Like, I don't want people to look at me and say, well, Karen does this, so I should be doing that. Like, I will be the first one to say it is batshit crazy to be running, an email marketing agency, homeschooling two autistic kids, dealing with my own chronic illness, starting a new business, trying to help other people, and, maintaining a house and doing all the things that come with, being a mom and having a house and being part of a family. So it's just, I don't want people to look and say, well, if she does it, I can too. I have a lot of support. I have a lot of help. I have a little bit of OCD that helps make it so that I have to get things done before my brain feels like it can rest. And it isn't always easy. And I don't want people to say that it's necessary to work as much as I do.
Yeah, well, and I mean, like, even with everything that you've got going on, sometimes there's a time to hustle, and there's a busy time, and there's a time where you've got a lot of demands on you, on your schedule, on your attention, and it's okay to be busy for a time. As like, the only thing that I want to caution people against is that you can't maintain that. It can't be all the time.
100%. We are in a very full season right now. And that's one thing I've become really aware of is the seasons of being an entrepreneur and the seasons of being a parent, right? That things are going to change, and the situations we were in even a year ago are really different to where we are now, and what worked then doesn't work now. And I'm in a whole different place, and it's a really big hustle moment for me right now, trying to get the second business up and running. But once it is, it's going to be about 15, 20 hours a week for copy, 15, 20 hours a week for, the new business, and a lot of white space really on my schedule.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I think that's super important. And, like, for as much, I'm lazy. I'm just going to go ahead and say that straight. I think it's a superpower, because if you give me a lazy person who's motivated, right? Not a lazy person who could literally spend 100 years on the couch and be satisfied with themselves. That's not me. I am lazy in the fact that if I am given something big to achieve, I'm going to find the fastest, cheapest, fewest steps to get to that thing. And I'm going to do that as quickly as possible so that I can either relax or move on to the next thing with minimal fuss. I am the biggest, like, I'm not going to work myself into an early grave like I used to do in Silicon Valley proponent there is. But I call myself pro hustle, anti-grind. I think that's the difference. I don't want you to grind to burn yourself out like these hustle bros, the productivity porn.
Bros. Oh gosh, yes.
Productivity porn. You need to put that on a mug and sell that as merch. That's fucking hilarious. But yeah, like, there's a time to hustle. And if you're buying into this, like, you can build a business that's going to allow you to be as lazy as possible. Wrong myth. Like, no. You're going to have to build. There are seasons for everything. And what was it? Somebody recommended this. I think it's called the Entrepreneur's Field Clarity Guide, something to that effect. But it talked about the same thing, that it was seasons. And they used kind of a farming analogy of like, there's a time to plant the seeds. There's a time to harvest. There's a time to prep for the slow season. And then there's a time to like bundle down, because you really can't do anything but let that land get more fertile for the next time you plant your seeds, and on we go.
I
right? I
love
just saw
that.
your eyes.
Sorry, that's like really resonating with me right now,
Hmm.
because this week has gone completely off kilter. And
Oh,
I had a lot of plans and goals that were supposed to be due for May 1st that didn't happen. And I'm dealing with my big feelings about
yeah.
that. And I had planned a celebratory, we are inventing words today, a
Yes.
celebrating trip for getting everything accomplished that I have to go on with nothing done.
Uh-huh.
And sit there without working, which I know will be a challenge, and I'm looking forward to it. Uh,
Yeah.
so it is just it's always an opportunity to grow, and that is what I love about having my businesses.
It really is. And the funny thing is, like, we obviously, I am a fan of rewarding yourself when you have done something, especially like my ADHD, dopamine driven brain, always chasing the next hit. If I can reward myself for something awesome, that's how I stay productive. Or, if I can make it a ridiculous deadline and trip into adrenaline, then I can make it happen, right?
Yep.
But you don't have to earn that trip. And just because you initially earmarked it for celebration doesn't mean somehow that you didn't hit your goals, you don't get to go anymore. Like, you get to go because you decided you were going on this trip. It's okay.
I know it was a weird thing. It's my week of being famous. I had my really fancy headshots taken and
Ooh.
doing the podcast interview today, and it was supposed to be the website's done, but I'm waiting for the pictures to finish it. So let's go relax and enjoy ourselves. And now it's like, well, the website's not done, but the photographer is getting back really early with new proofs, and I everything can be done, but it won't be because I'll be at the ocean,
Yep. And
and that's fine.
sometimes things do be like that, though.
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh, my son says that to me all the time.
I love the internet. I
Oh,
probably spend way too much time on TikTok watching stupid videos, but that's how life goes sometimes. The best laid plans and all of that, yada, yada, yada.
yada yada.
Um, I wish I could hit every deadline. But the cool thing is I had a mentor once that I was in a bad spot. So that was already kind of setting myself up for some things to go sideways, right? It's in a bad spot. I really needed the money. Reached out to a mentor, kind of told him where I was at. He referred me to a project. I really wanted this project. It was the biggest project of my life to date. I was getting paid $2,500 for a sales page. Woohoo! Rolling in
Woohoo!
the money, right? Gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah.
throwing hundreds up in the air. I had very, very poor boundaries at that point in time. Plus, I'm desperate and I really want to impress this guy. So by the time I'm done, I have promised this man a full sales pitch. I mean, we're talking long form,
Oh,
thousands
Angie.
upon thousands of words. I
Ugh.
promised him a full sales page, edits to 6 email sequences, and thrown in 3 press releases in a week. I didn't sleep much. It was a horrible week.
Oh my.
And by the end of it, I'm talking to my mentor and I'm so stressed out. And he goes, "Well, I think you learned an invaluable lesson." And I'm like, "Please tell me what lesson I learned other than people suck." And he was like, "Well, one, you set the deadline." And I was like, "I
Hmm.
don't want to take responsibility for this."
Yeah.
And he was like, you set the deadlines. And the good news about you set the deadlines is the deadlines are arbitrary. They should be respected, especially when there are consequences for moving the deadline. But if you set the deadline at a week, then you need to look at how realistic are you being about your deadlines. And if you can't hit your deadlines, reach out, talk to someone, start the conversation. He goes, the good news here, the good news, bad news is that you hit it and you conducted yourself like a total pro. And yeah, it cost you to get it out there, but like you did everything right. And so, as far as I'm concerned, this is a win. And I hope you celebrate yourself and you learn what you can and you move on. And I went, I kind of hate you right now.
But thank you, because you're right.
But yeah, thank you for the life lesson. I don't like it.
Well, I will say I have never missed a client deadline, but I am really horrible when I think about working for myself. I am a terrible boss.
Oh,
I
most of
feel
us are.
such big feelings for my future employees about having to work for me. So it yeah, my expectations for myself are often very unrealistic, and
Mm-hmm.
that coincides with my inability to reasonably limit myself and what I think I can get done in a day. My
Mm-hmm.
accountability partner is always on me. She's like, "You need to stop. You've done more than most people would in a week, and
Yeah.
it's Tuesday. So, like, take a break. It's okay." But I have I have one of the ways my schedule works is that I have my hours that are set for work, my hours that are set for out of the home activities that I do with the kids,
Hmm.
homeschooling related, or if we have therapies or doctor's appointments we need to go to. And if something happens to intrude on those work hours, it's really hard for me to say it's okay, right? Because those are my work hours. I should be working. And that's just a mindset shift that I know
Hmm.
once I fully make it, I know it will be in everyone's best interest. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and you can only do what you can on any given day. Uh, speak of another theme that's been coming up today. It's about like, what are we doing all of this for, right? And I had this story in my head about the end goal, which I'm
Mhm.
so grateful for my investment in like self development. And
Yeah.
look, guys, the answers are inside you. You already have them. It's just they're buried by a bunch of shit, especially if you are shiny object syndrome oriented like me. Um,
Oh my gosh, I am grateful we're not recording video, but if y'all could just see my face right now, woo, dropping the truth bombs.
Yes,
Yeah.
you have already got the answers. And I remember when he made me deeply, deeply uncomfortable. He's like, tell me why this is so important to you. And I'm like, I want to build this business. You want to build this business to do what exactly? And I was like, I want to make this income goal and I want to have the freedom. And he was like, so why do you want this income goal and the freedom? So that I can spend time with my family and my loved ones and I can go traveling and have adventures and eat good food and spend good time with people, just bringing some good to the planet. And he goes, do you hear yourself? And I was like, what? And he was like, right, like, do you actually hear yourself? So for everybody that's a first time listener, I have been a digital nomad for a long time. I'm already going out on the road and traveling and spending quality time with people and having good food and doing stupid things. And he goes, so why do you need to work so hard to make the money to do the things you're already doing? And like,
Oof.
that's what it comes down to me, for me, more often than not. When I hear somebody and they're working so hard on their business, it's like, what are you doing this for? To me, and this may not be accurate because this is the first time that we're talking in a while about your business. We
Yeah.
talked about it once before, but you're doing it to spend time with the people that matter most to you and to be involved in their education and to be present for them, like, and to take care of yourself.
There's a bigger why though.
Okay.
I would very, very strongly encourage anyone who is an entrepreneur. You hear it all the time. What's your big why? But
Yeah.
like sit your ass down and figure it out, because that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing that's going to get you up when my alarm goes off at 5:55 every day in the morning. Um, that's the thing that gets me out of bed, right? My big why, and I think it was Abby Woodcock that I did
Ooh.
a goal setting workshop with. And she walked us through this process, and it was transformational. I realized that the biggest reason why I have my business, and this was where my copywriting business started, which began in 2020, it was to give my kids a secure financial future
Mm.
because of the way their autism affects them. There's a really good chance they're going to be mostly independent, but may not be able to completely support themselves financially.
Mm.
And I don't want to have my children relying on the government for anything. The
Yeah.
program, the programs we're able to access now that they're, under 18, really helpful, really supportive. But I know how much paperwork and bullcrap comes with that. And I know that it would
Mm-hmm.
be really challenging for them to manage everything they'd need to do to keep up with that. So my big goal, my big, hairy, audacious goal is to
Yep.
just have enough money that I can afford to support them if they need help, that
Mm-hmm.
my husband and I will be able to retire someday, and that as much as I love my children, that they will not be living in my basement.
Yep.
I want I want them to be independent. I want that for them because I feel like once they are adult human beings, they deserve that level of independence. And
Absolutely.
as their parent, so do I, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I am putting in all my energy and resources into helping them become the best grown up people they can be, which has always been my parenting goal, before they were born, even, before we knew about any of the additional challenges they are dealing with. That's the goal, right? So I just might need a little bit more money than I thought to make that
Yeah.
happen. So that's why I do what I do. But yes, it's great to be able to say, I'm taking the kids to park day today, or we're going to
Hmm.
horse lessons this afternoon, or, it's Star Wars Day and let's make Wookiee cookies and Yoda soda and hang out with
Oh
some
my
homeschool
gosh,
friends, right? Oh, and I
that's
hate Star
right.
Wars, which is a whole separate issue. But
Oh, you and I would laugh. I don't hate it. I'm just
oh,
not the mega fan that all of my friends and family are. And that's what I was laughing about because we're recording on May 3rd. You're going to be hearing this a couple months later, but tomorrow would be May 4th, which is, May the 4th be with you. I've seen all the Star Wars movies. I am one of those obnoxious adult Disney people. So I have been through all the Star Wars rides and whatnot. But it's funny because you're doing this May 4th activity with your kids and it's not your favorite thing. I jokingly call myself on my consulting arm of my business a C3PO, and everybody laughs. They're like,
ooh.
"Oh, you're a Star Wars fan." I'm like, "No, not really. It was just really convenient, and everybody knows C3PO, so it was like, cool. I'll tie into this pop culture zeitgeist." I just thought it was a funny
Marketing.
connection. Marketing. I could have a cartoon drawn where I am C3PO, but maybe silver instead of gold because I don't like gold all that much. But
Same.
random tangents and connections. That's what I love about this show. So, I mean, I love that. And it was funny. I was at a conference last week where somebody called the big, hairy, audacious goal a BHAG. And I was like, I like that much better. BHAG. What's your BHAG? Sounds like a swamp witch
It
conjuring
does.
something. And that's like why I wanted to underscore what you said about sit down and think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing what you're doing? Because it is going to be different for everyone. And obviously, like I'm taking care of my cat, who is not really dealing with any kind of issues other than being annoying, like most cats do. So I've got a different level of why and different responsibilities than everybody listening here. So it's okay to want what you want, to need what you need, and to set goals accordingly. Everything is figure outable if you're actually real with yourself on what you want and why. Because, like, if you hadn't thought about that, and I'm sitting here thinking I'm going to be happy when I hit $1 million, and then I don't realize the thing that I was working for $1 million for was so that I can spend more time with people I love, which I can do right now. Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right. I saw your eyes go big somewhere in the middle of that rant. So, did you have thoughts?
No, it's just you got to know what you're working for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big thing for me was I was able to semi-retire my husband. So,
Ooh.
oh gosh, it's so wonderful. So
Yes.
he's home, most of the days now, and he has actually taken over doing the day-to-day homeschooling with the kids. And
Nice.
it's such a wonderful gift to have him here and to not be dealing with the harder days completely by myself because I did that for over 10 years and it was exhausting. And just to kind of have that backup when,
Mm-hmm.
don't like to go too into detail about the challenges my
Yeah.
kids face because they are entitled to privacy and mom's not out here dropping our dirty laundry so she can catch the cloud. Which actually is really defining difference with my autism parent coaching business because so many people in that space really do let their
Mm-hmm.
children's bad days become the way they get known. And we're very much against
Yeah.
that. But
Which kind of sucks. I
oh, it
mean,
sucks
like,
so hard. And can we go there for a minute?
yeah, go for it.
Okay. Because this is the thing. Just because a child or even adult is non-speaking doesn't mean they're non-thinking, right? And a lot of
Yes.
people that we would label as nonverbal are able to use different tools and resources. We are at a point in time where therapies and technology and neuroscience are really converging in on creating helpful therapeutics and helpful
Mm-hmm.
practices that can help open the world for people that previously didn't have the ability to communicate outwardly.
Yeah.
Just because you think your non-speaking, little child isn't going to grow up someday and see the meltdown video you posted of them on the internet when they were 4, there's a
Mm-hmm.
really good chance they're going to be able to look at you and say, you know what, mom, that was really fucked up. And they're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Just because they're your kid doesn't mean you have the right to put them all out there.
Yeah.
And, I understand the idea of wanting to spread awareness and to have people understand the struggles that you go through.
Mm-hmm.
But putting your kids out there like that isn't the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And a
And
better, oh, sorry, a
go
better way
ahead.
to do it is make sure your own needs are met as a parent
Yeah.
so that you don't feel like you have to be seen and understood and heard in this big way that violates that relationship and that trust that your child should have with you.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because I think that that's a thing that a lot of marketers violate too, right?
Hmm.
Especially like you and I with our background in email marketing and especially with storytelling as a way to drive sales and like customer relationships. It is so easy to share people's stories without their consent. And
Mm,
so I was glad a couple years ago when I joined a mastermind where we got this like reminder when we joined the bubble that your stories are yours to share, other people's are not. And so I try to keep that close to the vest that like if I want to tell a story about somebody that I've been working with or I know their personal story, I'm going to remove just about everything that could identify this person and tell like the top level abstract story. And if I can't do that, that's not my story to share. Or if I want to share the details, I go to them and ask permission. This is what I want to say. This is the point that I want to make. I care about your opinion. What do you think about this? And if you tell me no, that's okay. Like we did that before. I just recently had a live event called Eat, Play, Launch. And that was one of the things that we did to set the container when everybody first started on day one was like, remember what you hear here? It's kind of like Vegas. It's not your story to share. You're welcome. Like you are obviously free to share whatever insights you glean, talk about your experience here, but don't use somebody else's business as fodder for your content. Like, just don't do it.
no, it's it's becoming so easy to become a
Mm-hmm.
really sleazy marketer, right? And
Yeah.
to steal those stories from people. And my gosh, people, you have your own stories.
Yeah.
Like they're I understand it may not be the easiest thing for others to think of and to generate, but if you've lived a life, you have stories
Yeah.
and you don't need to steal other people's, right? Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
It's like, I'm glad we both went there. Like,
Yeah.
there are ways to find stories that don't involve violating the trust that you have with people. And I think a simple framework to keep in mind, it's not even a framework. What's the impact that this might have? Would I be proud if this was seen by my grandmother, by my children, by the person that I wrote about? Like,
And the
would if
internet
I
is forever.
mm-hmm.
Mm,
That's the warning that I give everybody before I start
yeah.
the show. I always tell everybody that if in the course of us just talking, you and me, something sensitive comes out and you go, oh crap, I want to edit that piece out. I will always edit it out because my job is to make you look like a rock star. And once it goes on the internet, I can't really do much about it. So you got to let me know. All right, so abrupt segue. We met in a mutual friends course. I already mentioned him, Chris Orzakowski,
Yeah.
this one person agency training program. Do you want to go a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah. So I am not his target audience, but
Oh,
secretly, I feel like he's a little bit more woo than he likes to let
oh
on.
yeah,
And
oh yeah.
yeah, he is. He is,
Love you,
whether she
Chris.
wants to. I can't. Chris is my husband's name, so if I say that now, he's going to be like, "Why are you telling me that you love me in the office?" Well, I'm not even there. So it is doing one person agency really was a stepping stone that, well, first of all, let me start my one person agency,
Yeah.
but also enabled me to find the type of clients and the type of projects that really freed up my brain to start having those big ideas and start taking the little hints from the universe that it was time to start this autism parent coaching business because that was my 10-year goal. And you and I had talked about that in one of the exercises that we did. And I think you would encourage me to start trying to work with people who are already in that space as a copywriter and as an email marketer.
Mm-hmm.
And my response was, dude, it's my life. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
work it and live it. My business, my copywriting business was kind of a break from my reality. And
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think I'd want to work as a copywriter building somebody else's business in this space.
Makes sense.
But the tools that I got in OPA, definitely, not kind of, it made
Mm-hmm.
me have the time management skills and get the bigger ticket projects, get the better clients, create a system so that I say, well, when I do an email welcome series, which is kind of my specialty, I know this is what it's going to take. I know this is what I'm going to deliver. I know this is
Mm-hmm.
how I do it. There's a repeatable process, because so much of being a copywriter is like, learn how to write the words. Okay, I can write words. Well, now everyone wants weird words. And how many words do they want? And what type of words am I writing? And what am I writing about? And there's so many different options and different ways you can go. And people look at you like, I think for most people, when they're starting their career, business owners that hire you look at you like you're a unicorn that's going to solve all their problems. And Chris's big thing that I have always loved so much about him was and is, you can solve small problems for small people. There's a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
that do that. Good for them. I don't want to do that. Like, I want to
Yeah.
solve, small problems for big people
Yes.
and do it on repeat. Like, the person who's going to write your $100,000 email welcome series isn't necessarily the person that's going to write your sales page,
Yeah.
or definitely isn't the person that's going to be writing your social media copy, right?
Yeah.
And it's probably not the same person that's going to write you a kick-ass website. So realizing that you don't have to write all the different types, and you don't have to write for all the different niches, and you can just
Mm-hmm.
focus on what you want, literally was like a light bulb going off. So
Yeah.
dialed in what I do, dialed in who I help. Funnily enough, the universe just starts sending me better clients and more of them. And, at this point, I'm not going to walk away from several $1,000s a month, which I don't want to say is easy money, because I think very often people get into copywriting with the idea that it's going to be easy money. And it's,
Yes.
oh, your eye roll.
Oh yeah.
It can be, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
it's not a difficult skill to pick up if you're
Yeah.
inclined to learn it, but the business side of it
It's
can be a
it's
little tricky.
learning. Yeah, it's the layered thinking that goes into making decent copy great that
Yes.
makes the difference. And most people just go, oh, like, well, that's just an email telling a story, and they don't understand the decision making process behind why this story, why now, why these people, how does it connect, what do I want them to take. Like, there's a whole
Hmm.
bunch going on, and it's like a duck paddling. Looks calm on the surface. A lot of stuff went a little bit frenetically into getting that thing to go. You said so many great things when you were talking about your experience there. One was like talking in your homework about, should you be writing, like, maybe this is an easy transition, knowing where you want to go. We can build a little bit of a bridge there. And you having that, it's not probably even extreme, but like that definitive answer of, no, I don't want to do that. This is my daily life. And I think that's what's so awesome about seeking outside perspective and not trying to do all of this crap by yourself, right? If you've got a coach, or if you've got a trusted peer group or colleagues or something that you can bounce these ideas around, well, then sometimes knowing what you don't want is the best form of clarity, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Right. Because it becomes really easy to say yes to everything. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And once well, for me personally, once I started realizing those things that were a hell no, the yeses started just to keep coming to me. Right. So once I knew what I didn't want to do, the way forward became a lot more clear and a lot easier to follow.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that makes me so happy to hear too, because like, I know I have a strong personality and I've coached a lot of people. And so a lot of folks think that when I jump in with an opinion like that, okay, so here's one path that I see, here's one option that I can see. And I'm always, it's just the way my brain works, thinking in terms of streamlining. How can I multi-purpose it so that this decision is taken? I'm a lazy person. How can I multi-purpose it to where this one step I'm taking takes care of like 5 different potential routes that I could follow in the future, right? And so of course it makes sense for somebody who's like systematic and lazy like that, for me to go, all right, I can see a path from you being an email copywriter now to you being this coach for families with autistic children. And maybe there's a middle line here where you could literally do both. And you go, nope, this is my reality. Here's more context. And you push back on me. Like, guys, you don't have to listen to everything a coach says. And if this is like a new thing for you to hear and adjust, then I really want you to sit with it. If you have a reaction, like a really strong reaction to something a coach is saying, sit down and like examine it. Just like we talked about knowing yourself and your why. Why are you having this reaction? What's coming up as you're having this reaction? Is your answer yes or no? Are you going, you don't know what the hell you're talking about? I don't want to do that. Cool. I mean, I don't think that there's a good, decent coach out there that goes, if you don't follow everything that I'm saying, even though I don't live in your head and I don't know what's going on in your day-to-day life, but I'm going to dare to prescribe something for you as if I know what's best for you. Run away from those coaches.
Seriously, I in the process of starting this new business got my master's life coach certification, right? And
Hmm.
it was really interesting learning how much I already knew, right? And
Yeah.
how little new information really that was. Oh, that sounds so braggy, but how
No,
little new information there was there. And
we were
yeah,
talking about this at an event this past week about how like we convince ourselves that the answer is in this new thing with the sexy marketing that's going to give me the one thing I'm missing. And I don't think it's braggy. I think it's that we have this tendency to not give ourselves the credit for knowing the thing. We think other people know better than us. And so when we go through their system and realize, huh, I knew that. I don't know how I feel about the fact that I knew that and I paid a whole lot of money to learn that. Like I read a book, I'm not going to mention the book's name, but Orzi recommended it. And he's like, this thing is so freaking brilliant. So I remember I bought it. I took a glass of wine down to the hot tub. I read through most of it in one evening and I was pissed. And he goes,
ugh,
how'd you like it? And I was like, honestly, I was kind of mad at it. And he goes, why? And I was like, I mean, yeah, the author was a little bit of a douche bro, but the author said nothing new that I couldn't have taught myself. And the only difference is he wrote a fucking book about it and put it out there and I didn't. That's why I'm mad.
girl, I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of books I get irrationally angry about. I haven't come across one that is like my ideas. I could have written that book and I could have done it better. But often productivity books that are
Mm-hmm.
written by men who are not mothers,
Don't
right?
have the family
Don't
responsibilities and the
have the family.
household stuff.
I read these books and Abby Woodcock, again, with the amazing idea, was like, those books don't apply to you. And
Yep.
don't set yourself up to fail by trying to do these things. But, you read these books about, well, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I have a 3 hour long morning routine. And then I see my kids at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, what's your wife doing? Who's
Mm-hmm.
taking care of the kids? Like, who got up in the middle of the night because your 2 year old got sick? And, who's doing the laundry? And, you can say, we'll outsource all those things and it'd be lovely if we could. But for most of us, outsourcing those household tasks is not one of the first things that happens when you start a business.
Yeah.
And, just realizing where certain people who are, again, placed on that pedestal that you talked about
Mm-hmm.
being like what you should aspire to and what you should be doing, but realizing that they are in no way, shape, or form living your life. And
Yes.
yeah, it, learning to not take productivity books as gospel was a huge growing
Mm-hmm.
point for me.
I think one of my mentors said, this is Marcella Allison, who is a bit of a genius and I freaking love her. She always says, take what you need and leave the rest.
Yep.
And you are free to do that in any book, coaching program, anything that you take on to better yourself. Take what works for you and leave the rest. And my only caveat is that if there's somebody that you really, really trust and you want what they want and they're suggesting something that doesn't make sense to you and you're not having a violent no reaction, right? Because the violent no, I'm not going to do that reaction is totally valid and makes perfect sense. But if there's something that they're saying that makes you a little bit like, I don't know, I'm nervous about that. That doesn't really make sense to me. That's one of those things to like, should I just try it and see what happens? Like detach from the results, just try it and see what I can learn. Because often another one of my mentors, Kevin Roger, we're just going to shout out all the mentors today. He used to tell me, I can see around this corner and I know that you can't, and that makes you nervous. So I'm going to give you something that I know works and I'm going to ask you to trust me. And I was like, I don't like it. It makes me really uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it. And that's how I got as far as I did, by trusting people who went before me that said things that didn't really make sense to me until I had the context for them to make sense.
But when something's wrong for you, right?
Yes.
That visceral, like, oh no, my body is saying, no, this isn't it. Always, always, always listen to that. But you're 100% correct. And I know going through a lot of the exercises we did in OPA with Chris and you, it didn't make sense to me at the beginning, but by the time that 10 weeks was up and I had like a fully formed agency, had significantly better clients, was making connections with people who have referred like tens of thousands of dollars worth of client work to me, um,
Nice.
it was like, well, hell yeah, this is what I should be doing. And you're right, because he's been there, you've been there,
Hmm.
Kevin was there. Like, y'all know how to help people around the corner when we can't see it. And investing in yourself as a new business owner is always the way to go. Um,
Yes.
if you're using the resources, right? Like,
Yes.
do
Don't
not.
just buy it like a typical human. Like, I bought it and I got the dopamine release from buying the thing, and now my problems are solved. Into the drawer with you. Don't do that.
No.
Actually try it. Actually use it. See what works for you and what doesn't. I was getting good and ranty about this with another guest earlier today about how the reason why there are so many people teaching the one thing that will help you with success is because they all work.
Oof.
And your job is to find the one or two things that work for you. Right?
Yeah. And I also think, like, if you're doing that from a marketing perspective,
Mhm.
the one thing, like, it seems really easy and doable. It's just one thing. Like, oh my gosh, this is the secret. This is what I've been waiting for. This is why everything else hasn't worked. And
Mhm.
it's not the reason. With love, you're the reason. If you're
Yeah.
not sitting down and figuring out your why and knowing what you're doing and who you're helping and what's behind the reason for you wanting to be successful with it, until you figure all that out, you're going to just keep dropping money on stuff that isn't going to get done and isn't going to help.
Yeah, I mean that leads to something that we were kind of talking about earlier, where you heard me hint at it a little bit, but I coach for a lot of different programs. People have invited me in to be a guest. I love helping people with different programs. It satisfies my ADHD need to not be in any one particular thing, so I love it. And I get asked a lot. People will send me PMs, DMs, emails. Do you think I should join this? Do you think it'll be worth it? Allow me to step onto my soapbox. The worth of something is entirely up to you. It is entirely how you apply it and what you get out of it. And did you put these principles into play? Did you learn something? Did you learn something positive about yourself, negative about yourself? Did you learn a direction you didn't want to go? I used to think about that. Like, I used to measure events that I would go to and courses I would take on how much money do I think? How much ROI can I get on this investment? Is that worth it? And I've since changed my tune to be, did I get one great idea out of this? Did I get one good connection out of this? Then all the money that I dropped on this was worth it, because any experienced entrepreneur who has fallen on their face and, knocked out a couple of teeth, skinned some knees a couple of times, realizes that one good idea at the right time can change everything.
It's priceless.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, like, we talk about multi-million-dollar ideas in marketing, but they are true. They exist, and you have to be willing to actually act on them when they come up. So, like, yes, invest in yourself. It's worth it. It's always worth it. If you fucking do something with it, do something.
And I will admit, I've got courses. I did a course embargo. OPA was the last course I let myself buy in 2022. And I haven't really bought anything else since. And I was just so busy implementing those principles. And I jokingly said again to my poor beleaguered accountability partner, I was like, I really think I need this course. And she's like, you don't need it. I was like, no, but I think
No.
I do. Chris is great. She's like, you don't need it. I was like, oh, I need it. And then I bought it. And it's an investment, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't even tell my husband. I just went. Like, I am someone who used to say, honey, I want to take like a $200 copy course. Is that okay? And, I spent a lot more than that signing up for OPA, and didn't even say anything to him because I didn't care, because his opinion, it was coming out of my business funds, right? It wasn't impacting the household budget. And it was the best decision that I made. And it, from there, just became so much more clear, that I do have the tools and resources I need, that I know me putting the work in is where the magic happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can just keep buying courses and sitting on my butt and not getting anything done.
Yeah.
Or I could take OPA and then a couple months later, when everything is going great, say, well, I'm only working like 20 hours a week and I'm heading towards 6 figures for this year, no problem. I'm bored. Now what, right? And so that when the whole way my new business began was I had the idea for a book popped into my head, like fully formed,
Oh,
chapter by
wow.
chapter. I was driving my kiddo to a birthday party out in the middle of nowhere, and this book just popped into my head.
Love
And
it.
oh my gosh, it was amazing. Spent like 2 weeks trying to say, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this, until literally like I couldn't sleep anymore. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So getting my system squared away, getting my one business pretty much running itself. I mean, yeah, I have to do some writing every once in a while, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm here for. So it it just made everything fall into place, and it was because I
Yeah.
invested and did the work.
Yeah. And I want to add on to that too, because I heard something that maybe you didn't intend to be in there, but like allowing it to be easier
Yeah.
than we've been conditioned to believe. Because I know that I've done every kind of writing under the sun for every kind of niche that you can imagine. And email was the secret that unlocked things for me, that helped me understand what people were really saying when they said scale, when they said leverage, right? I didn't understand that until I wrote a series of emails that did almost $10 million in sales. And that was a series of emails that was designed to run over and over. It was an automation. And so it was like, we just created a multi-million dollar asset, an asset. I didn't get paid to write 3 emails. I created an asset that this company can use money. And that was what really helped me understand this is how you grow. You don't trade time for money. You don't trade widgets for money. You create leverage, you create assets. And so that's what I've loved about working with Chris. And I am proud to call him friend. We actively told everybody at the agency when I worked with him on that we're looking for downhill battles. And you've probably heard that too.
Yep.
We're looking for downhill battles. We're not looking for uphill battles. Downhill battles are easier to win. And there are plenty of people out there with downhill battles that we can like go in there with the stuff that we've already created and knock it out of the park. And that sounds like on the surface, it sounds like a copy and paste, but no, what we're doing is we've got the same overall logical structure. And so if we look at the situation and diagnose that this person needs a welcome sequence, well, you're going to get the same 7 email welcome sequence that all of these other clients have gotten. It's going to be written for you in your voice with your stories and your offers. So it's going to be completely custom, but we know the structure works. So why reinvent the wheel every single time and come up with a brand new email strategy for everybody? This one works. It makes sales. We're going to run it into the friggin' ground. Hasn't failed yet.
And I mean, that's what I'm doing, and
Yeah.
it still isn't failing yet with my clients. And
Yeah.
it's so easy when you just get everything on repeat, right? When you
Yes.
find those problems that you can solve, that you just get really good at solving them. Right.
Yeah.
And it was a total mindset shift from, I'm going to write 3 emails. How much is that really worth to you? Well, if you're running a $10 million campaign, or you're doing a launch, and 2% of your people maybe come back with that abandoned cart sequence.
Yep.
I'm not doing math in front of an audience right now, but it's a lot of money. There's zeros at the end of it,
Yeah.
before the decimal point. And yeah, it's not that you wrote 3 emails. It's that you helped someone scoop up tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, like millions of dollars in cash, because you knew how to write those 3 emails.
Yeah.
And it's, sometimes the plumber just knows where to bang the pipe with the wrench.
Exactly.
And that's what you're paying for.
I mean, that's what I love about business too, is that like it's really complicated and overwhelming when you first get started. But when you've been in it for a while, you start to recognize that, oh, there are patterns here. And a lot of people seem to be suffering from the exact same problem. And I've got a system that I've used to solve this problem before. I wonder if it'll work again. And now you've got yourself a process, an asset that you've created that you could sell to somebody else and be like, I've done this. Here are the results I've gotten from this before. Let me try again and see if it works again in this situation. And now you've really got something that is your thing that you can. And I have helped these people with this thing that just started from an idea, which started from you solving a problem. Like that's all business really has to be at the end of the day. Here's a problem I think I can solve. Here's how I think I can solve it. Could I do this again? Cool. I mean, Abby Woodcock was the one that taught me too, that you have a system or a process, whether you think you do or not, you just haven't written it down. And if you haven't written it down, then you can't leverage it because you're keeping it in your head, which means that you're starting from scratch every time trying to go, What did I do last time? How did I start last time? How did I do that? No, write it down.
Yep.
Keep copies.
Yeah.
Repurpose.
And to tie that all back to like my personal life and what we have going on at this house, that's how I have to run things, right? Because with my kids, there's a lack of executive function. My husband probably has ADHD. I have some ADD tendencies as well. So there's just checklists and we're getting ready to go on a trip. I have packing checklists for each child, and it's a spreadsheet, and I will print it off and write, you need 4 shirts and you need 2 pairs of pants, and pack it up yourself, kiddo. And getting it out of your head so that you don't have to think about it anymore frees you up to receive those big ideas when they are ready to come, when you're working for a client, when you're trying to create a new business for yourself, when you're just looking for the next right step for you to take. You can't have those big thoughts if your brain is worrying about underwear and like socks, right? So get it all out. Have an electronic place for it, have a paper place for it, but just have your processes written down so you don't have to think about them.
And that's I want to unpack that even a step further. Like, get shit out of your head. I cannot tell you how many times I have spoken to a colleague, a friend, a coach about something that has been bouncing around in there, growing bigger and bigger and more anxious and more bothersome. And as soon as I say it out loud, I hear myself and I realize this doesn't make any damn sense. But it made perfect sense while it was bouncing around in this echo chamber between my ears. And it's been stopping me from doing a lot of stuff. And then I say it out loud to someone I trust and go, wow, Angie, you're being ridiculous. Like, you can just let go of that thing and keep going. Like, get it out of your head. Write it down. Talk to someone. Stop carrying this stuff in between your ears. Well, I feel like we could rant for like 2 more hours.
Forever.
But I'm going to wrap it up now and say we probably need to have a part 2 because this one was good. It's very soapboxy feeling. I like that. So I'm going to ask you to share a little bit more about your business. Where can we find you? Where can we learn more and follow along?
Sure. So if you need email marketing help, my email marketing website is KarenKossow.com. And I am still accepting clients. I've reached out to everyone that I'm working with and past clients, letting them know that just because I have my new business doesn't mean I'm forgetting about my day job. Yep. And if anyone is looking for self-care support, if they're raising an autistic child or a child with other type of neurodiversity or special needs, I hate that term. Still working, still flexing my copywriter brain, trying to find a better term for that.
You'll find it.
It's going to come to me when I stop worrying about socks and underwear. It is. The website is Out of Your Ordinary. And if you go to outofyourordinary.com/self-care, you can download my free 7 resources to help parents navigate the stress of parenting an autistic child. And it's got a lot of really juicy tips. And the best part is this isn't the same self-care advice you keep getting that doesn't apply to your situation. This is from my 13 years of lived experience and a whole lot of trial and error. So really valuable resource.
Ooh, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you, Angie. It was wonderful seeing you. Have a great day.
That's all for now. If you want to keep that kick-ass energy high, please take a minute to share this episode with someone that might need a high-octane dose of "you can do it." Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Permission to Kick-Ass podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you stream your podcasts. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and I'm here rooting for you. Thanks for listening, and let's go kick some ass.